What if the earliest signs of cognitive decline don't look like memory loss at all? What if the warning signs are so subtle, so quiet, that most people dismiss them for years? Cognitive decline rarely begins with someone forgetting their children's names or getting lost in familiar places. That's the late stage. That's what people fear. But long before that happens, the brain whispers. It whispers through small personality shift, through subtle attention problems, through mental fatigue that feels normal, through changes so gradual that you adapt to them without noticing. And that's what makes it dangerous. In America today, millions of adults worry about dementia and Alzheimer's disease. But most people are looking for the wrong signals. They're waiting for dramatic memory loss. Meanwhile, the real early symptoms often go unnoticed. Let's talk about what those silent symptoms actually look like. One of the earliest changes can be reduced mental stamina. You used to focus for hours. Now, after 30 minutes of reading or problem solving, your brain feels tired. You find yourself rereading the same paragraph, not because you don't understand it, but because your concentration drifts. This isn't laziness. It's cognitive endurance. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for focus and decision-making, becomes less efficient when under stress, sleep deprivation, or early neurological change. When that efficiency drops, mental tasks require more energy. The brain fatigues faster. Another silent symptom is subtle difficulty with multitasking. You once managed multiple responsibilities smoothly. Now, switching between tasks feels overwhelming. You lose track of what you were doing. You open your phone to check one thing and forget why you opened it. This happens because cognitive flexibility, the brain's ability to shift attention between tasks, depends on strong communication between the prefrontal cortex and deeper brain regions. When that communication weakens, even slightly, mental switching becomes harder. Then there's decision hesitation. You stand in a grocery store aisle longer than you used to, trying to choose between two brands. Small decisions feel oddly exhausting. You second-guess choices you would have made quickly before. This isn't just personality change. It can reflect reduced processing speed, the rate at which your brain analyzes information and produces a response. Processing speed naturally slows with age, but accelerated slowing can signal early cognitive vulnerability. Another quiet sign is increased irritability. This one surprises people. When the brain struggles to process information efficiently, frustration rises. Tasks that once felt simple now require more effort. The result? Shorter patience, quicker annoyance, emotional overreactions. The amygdala, the brain's emotional center, becomes more reactive when the prefrontal cortex loses regulatory strength. The balance shift. Emotional responses intensify. Mood changes are often mistaken for stress alone. But persistent personality shifts deserve attention. There's also subtle word-finding difficulty beyond just names. You know the word. It's familiar. It's common. But it lingers just out of reach. You describe around it. That thing you use to open a can. Instead of can opener. Occasional word-finding issues are normal. But increasing frequency, especially with everyday objects, may reflect changes in language processing networks within the temporal lobe. Another silent symptom is decreased initiative. You used to pursue hobbies enthusiastically. Now you feel less motivated. Not necessarily depressed, just less driven. Projects remain unfinished. Interests fade quietly. This can reflect changes in the brain's reward circuitry, including dopamine pathways that influence motivation and goal-directed behavior. Cognitive decline does not always begin with memory loss. Sometimes it begins with apathy. Spatial awareness changes can also appear subtly. You might bump into furniture more often, struggle slightly with parking alignment, feel less confident navigating unfamiliar areas. These changes involve the parietal lobes, areas responsible for spatial processing and visual interpretation. Then there's financial confusion. Not forgetting to pay bills entirely, but taking longer to organize them. Feeling less confident reviewing statements. Becoming overwhelmed by complex paperwork. Financial management requires multiple brain systems working together: memory, attention, reasoning, sequencing. Even small inefficiencies can make these tasks feel heavier. Sleep disruption can both cause and signal cognitive changes. Frequent waking, vivid dreams, reversed sleep cycles. Poor deep sleep reduces the brain's ability to clear metabolic waste, including beta-amyloid proteins associated with Alzheimer's disease. When sleep declines, cognitive performance often follows. One of the most overlooked silent symptoms is social withdrawal. You might avoid gatherings not because you dislike people, but because conversations feel more mentally demanding. Following fast dialogue requires working memory, language processing, and attention. If those systems are strained, social fatigue increases. This withdrawal can further accelerate cognitive decline by reducing mental stimulation. Now here's something important. Many of these symptoms can also be caused by stress, poor sleep, depression, medication side effects, vitamin deficiencies, thyroid imbalance, or chronic inflammation. Not every subtle change means neurodegeneration, but patterns matter. If you notice gradual decline across multiple areas, focus, mood, word retrieval, decision-making, and it persists for months, it's worth discussing with a healthcare provider. Early evaluation can rule out reversible causes. Vitamin B12 deficiency, for example, can mimic cognitive decline. So can chronic sleep apnea. So can untreated anxiety. But let's assume something else for a moment. Let's assume your brain is simply under strain. Modern American life is cognitively overwhelming. Constant notifications, multitasking, chronic stress, poor diet, limited movement, social media overload. The brain was not designed for continuous digital fragmentation. Chronic stress elevates cortisol, which damages the hippocampus over time. Inflammation reduces neural efficiency. Sedentary lifestyle decreases blood flow to the brain. High-sugar diets destabilize energy supply. In other words, lifestyle can mimic early cognitive symptoms. That's both alarming and hopeful. Because lifestyle can be changed. The brain remains plastic throughout life. Neuroplasticity allows new connections to form even in later decades. So what can you do if you recognize some of these silent symptoms? First, optimize sleep. 7 to 9 hours. Consistent schedule. Cool, dark room. Limit blue light before bed. Deep sleep is when your brain repairs. Second, move daily. Aerobic exercise increases blood flow and stimulates BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which supports neuron survival and growth. Third, reduce sugar spikes. Stable blood sugar protects delicate brain vessels and prevents inflammation. Fourth, challenge your mind. Learn something new. Read difficult material. Practice recall exercises. Strengthen working memory intentionally. Fifth, manage stress. Meditation, prayer, breathing exercises, nature walks. These lower cortisol and protect the hippocampus. Sixth, stay socially active. Conversation activates multiple brain networks simultaneously. The key is consistency. Cognitive decline does not happen overnight. Neither does cognitive resilience. Another powerful tool is early screening. Simple cognitive assessments performed by healthcare professionals can establish a baseline. Monitoring changes over time provides clarity. Fear often prevents people from seeking evaluation, but early awareness allows early intervention. And here's something critical. Occasional forgetfulness is normal. Everyone experiences cognitive fluctuations. The difference between normal aging and concerning decline is impact on daily function. Normal aging, slower recall but independence intact. Concerning decline, difficulty performing familiar tasks, confusion in routine activities, repeated mistakes in judgment. If you're functioning independently but noticing mild inefficiencies, that's often modifiable. The brain responds to training like a muscle. Studies show that adults who engage in consistent physical activity, intellectual challenge, and social engagement reduce dementia risk significantly. Cognitive reserve acts like a buffer. The more mental strength you build over decades, the more resistant you become to age-related change. Think of it like building savings in a bank account. The more deposits you make early and consistently, the more protection you have later. The danger lies not in subtle symptoms alone, but in ignoring them completely. Awareness without panic is powerful. Instead of asking, "Am I losing my mind?" ask, "Is my brain undersupported?" That shift changes everything. If your mental stamina has dropped, increase sleep and exercise. If your focus is scattered, reduce digital multitasking. If your mood is irritable, evaluate stress and inflammation. If word finding has increased, practice language retrieval exercises. Your brain is dynamic. It adapts to input. The silent symptoms are not always a verdict. Sometimes they are a warning signal, an opportunity to intervene. Imagine two paths. On one path, subtle symptoms are ignored. Stress continues. Sleep remains poor. Inflammation rises. Years pass quietly. On the other path, subtle symptoms trigger awareness. Habits improve. Blood flow increases. Neural networks strengthen. Cognitive reserve builds. The difference compounds over time. Aging is inevitable. Accelerated decline is not always. Your brain sends whispers before it sends alarms. The question is, are you listening? If you found this valuable, subscribe to Brain Signals for weekly science-based strategies to protect your memory and sharpen your mind. Because the earlier you support your brain, the stronger it stays for the years ahead.